Today's guests on the podcast are Jay and Tyler of South Coast band the Manatees. Manatees have a new EP coming out on February the 23rd, this Friday. It's called Different State of Mind. After which they're going to America to play South by Southwest. And once they come back from that, they're going on a UK tour. So we spoke about all that. Plus we deep dived into their career, which includes lots of things like signing for Fierce Panda Records and hanging out with Tim Wheeler from Ash. Check the band out, have a listen to their back catalogue, and then Friday get listening to the new EP, A Different State of Mind. If you're all enjoying the podcast, as I keep saying, please like, share and subscribe. Tell your friends. Do whatever you can. Spray paint Time for Heroes on walls. Tell everybody you can. Just get this podcast out to the masses. Thanks again, and I'll be back soon with another episode.
The seasons look like changing, but the cold will stay. Another helpless story ends today. It's all I ever dreamed of. So I will feel away.
Right, this week on the podcast I have Jay and Tyler from the Manatees. Is it, how are we saying it? The Manatees or the Manatees?
Yeah, that's right, Manatees. First time.
A band from the south coast of England with a new EP due out February 23rd. It is called, I put it here, A Different State of Mind, and it's out Friday the 23rd, this Friday. So we're going to talk about the band's career from the start up to what's going on now and what's coming up in the future. But at the start, I like to go back what was life like for two young boys growing up in the South Coast, and how did you end up forming the band?
Absolutely. I mean, I think we're very, very lucky to have grown up where we grew up. Like, it was full of amazing scenery, got sea right on our doorstep, forest right on our doorstep. The less sort of, I guess, good thing for us was there's not a lot of music down there. We were sort of like in the minority of people like wanting to join bands and play music. And I guess that's what sort of drew like particularly Ty and each other so early on. Like Ty and I weren't really aware of each other as people until we were sort of like 17, 18 years old, starting to want to go out and form bands. And Ty was in like one of the only other bands on the South Coast, like within a 15-mile radius, that played guitar. And so like we only became aware of each other then, I guess. And because we were some of the very few people like around each other doing what we were doing, I guess we immediately sort of like formed a connection and became quite good friends. And eventually, yeah, managed to pinch Ty to join the Manatees. And the rest is sort of history, as they say.
What sort of music were you into back then?
I mean, the band I was in before was sort of like a Talking Heads sort of funk sort of band, and I think that wasn't really what I was into. To be fair, I've been growing up, I was like into the Red Hot Chili Peppers a lot, so I guess that funk influence came from there. But mostly, I was into like more classic rock stuff until I was 17. Maybe 16, 17, I started listening to like indie music and listening to like Maximo Park and the Smiths and all that sort of stuff. That got me into like that sort of style of songwriting.
Right. What about yourself, Jay?
I think I was definitely more on the indie side. When I think like the first band that I properly heard and was like, oh, I'd quite like to. Before I even was aware that I wanted to be in a band, I think the first band that I heard and really wanted to, I don't know, was really interested in was actually the Wombats. I remember hearing them when I was like maybe 13, maybe even a bit younger. and just something about the music really interested me, and I don't think I'd ever like fallen in love with an indie artist before. And I think from then that sort of like spiked my interest in that sort of music, and from then went on to listen to like loads and loads of Jamie T, um, loads of Wolf Alice, and I think that's when I sort of started to write songs, I guess, and have this vision of being in a band. And then that sort of started to come into fruition when I was about 17, 18. And then I think Tyler and I met kind of not long after.
Forming the band, then, how would you describe your sound at the start, and how do you think it's evolved as to what it is now?
I think at the start we were a lot more indie, right, Ty? Like sort of like
Yeah, a bit more jangly.
yeah, jangly. Yeah, I'd say jangly is a very apt description of it. Um, and yeah, I guess like a bit more like sickly indie, like a bit more jangly. And I think what we are now is we're definitely heavier, a lot more like fuzz and sort of like riff orientated. And we've also, I mean, over like especially particularly over the last couple of years, like we've really started to experiment with synthesizers and samples and sort of like developed our sound a lot more. And I think you can really hear that, especially on this EP coming out and the last EP that we recorded. And yeah, it's definitely a far cry from the music that we first started writing and recording together when we were sort of like that year 17, 18, jangly sort of like dry guitar, sort of
Mm.
four instruments on the track sort of sounds. I think we've definitely learned how to fill up the space and develop more interesting sounds.
You're doing yourself a disservice there, because I mean some of the early songs are like, I was listening this morning, Flowers, for
Yeah.
instance, and I think that's like such a beautiful song.
Oh wow,
Um,
that's a proper deep cut. So thank you for listening to that. I don't know if
um,
many people are really aware of that one anymore or at the moment. So yeah, appreciate that.
well, up until like now, like the sound, um, I think these are now sounding like Arctic Monkeys, like AM era Arctic Monkeys, with the kind of the lyrics and the style of singing. It sounds like Alex Turner a wee bit to me.
Oh
So,
wow.
but going back then, so when was your first release? Was it 2018?
Yeah, I mean we released some stuff like right at the start that we've since taken down. But that was probably like 2017. And then yeah, I think our first release up on Spotify is probably a track called What If, or is it Headstrong maybe?
I think
Yeah,
it's Milan.
you get
Oh
Milan
Milan.
first, aye. It's
It is
just because I
Milan.
was I was looking on YouTube, and Young Hearts come up, which I can't
Yeah,
see on Spotify. So is
yeah,
that
yeah.
is that early stuff then as well?
That was early stuff. That was probably like that was around the same time as Milan, maybe like a bit earlier. Um, but I think we're having that sort of like precious artist thing where I made the sounds that it was maybe a few years on didn't like represent what we wanted to be or where we wanted to go. So we decided to take like that EP off. And I think Milan just sort of like managed to stay alive and well because I think it had done quite well on streaming, and people to this day ask for Milan in the live set, and we I'd say 95% of the time ends up playing it as an encore. So that one sort of I'm glad we kept that in because people really like resonate with that and really like love that at the end of the set.
So 2018 you had Milan, 2019 What If and Flowers, and then Headstrong. 2020 you released 5 songs. Well, 4 songs. You'd Have It All, and then you released it as acoustic as well. So busy in 2020, and then 2021 nothing. Looking on your Instagram, did you what happened? Did you go away and kind of reinvent yourself?
Yeah, I mean, I guess that was like sort of all around the time of COVID. I think it was just before COVID, and we sort of like just wanted to, yeah, as you say, like just take a little space to like go away and sort of like really think about our sound and how we wanted to be portrayed. And then I think COVID hit, and such a big part of our project is being able to perform as a live band. So when that hit and like gigs were taken away from us, we sort of just went into hibernation a little bit, I suppose, and we definitely took off the pressure off ourselves, of like writing for the band and for the Manatees, and we were still very much writing together, but we were just like floating around loads of different ideas, and that's when we really started to like mess with other instruments and synthesizers and samples and all that sort of thing. And then as soon as we got the green light to go back out and gig again, that's exactly what we did. And I think we headed out on like our first headline tour for what was it, time maybe 2 or 3 years at that point, like after COVID
Yeah.
been and gone. And after that, yeah, we were just like, okay, let's put our foot to the throttle now. Like this is what we want to do. Let's not mess around anymore. And I think we'd had that really amazing time where we like got to sort of like sit and think about what we wanted to sound like. And also, as I said, like we've been making music together since like I guess when we were like 17, 18, and we maybe got like stuck into that like indie jangly pattern. So having that like nice natural break to sit back, because as you grow a few years older, I guess your ideas of what you like and what you want to sound like definitely change significantly. And it gave us that time to maybe catch up with ourselves.
Mm-hmm. Do you like talking about the way you want to be portrayed? Obviously, like the sound and the style as well. Like obviously your look, is that all part of the same package? And are you all on the same hymn sheet with that?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I guess it kind of was very natural. I think we, in a way, so like we sort of came out of lockdown and sort of were hanging out, and we were all like dressing a bit different and all kind of a little bit of a different attitude towards like the music and stuff. And it was kind of like very natural. I don't think it was something we necessarily sat down and said, all right, we want to look like this. It was just sort of, we met up and it's like, oh, you've got those trousers from that shop. Oh, so have I. Like, I think Jay and I literally had the same pair of trousers from Weekday. I was like, like it just kind of like naturally happened completely randomly. But I think it's quite nice that it happened like that. And I think it also firmed up between us that this is like, the right decision to make in terms of the next step for us,
Mm-hmm. Touring wise, looking at your tours, it was predominantly South Coast, like South Coast up to London, and it seems to have evolved. And as you have grown, you have travelled up the country. How do you feel when you kind of take yourself out your comfort zone and you go further north?
It's amazing. Like I think, as you said, particularly when we were first starting out, like being from Southampton and the South Coast, everything is north of us. Like literally every single place in the country is north of us. So getting up to those Sheffields and Manchesters and Glasgow's is really quite like a long haul thing for us to do. Particularly like, when you're just starting out and you're loading into 3 separate cars and you're taking up drum kits and you haven't got any money at all and you're doing it all on your own. So I think as soon as we've had the opportunity to sort of go further afield and have a bit more backing and, even a van now, means that we've been so excited to be able to play. We played Scotland for the first time in October. We went up to Edinburgh and we played Leeds for the first time, and we played Manchester and Liverpool for the first time. So being able to go and like access those parts of the country that we haven't been able to do before has been amazing. And just like meeting people that have been listening to our music since 2018 and haven't been able to catch us live yet, and finally, because we're getting our act together and coming up to see them, they've been able to come and see us. Is an amazing feeling.
What was this, what sort of reaction did you get for the Northern crowd, specifically Edinburgh?
Edinburgh was great. Edinburgh was like a really cool, like pokey little venue called Sneaky Pete's. And I mean, everyone there was like really into it, like giving it everything in the crowd, which is, I think, when you're on stage, like all you can ask for. Like all we ask is for a bit of energy from the crowd, and it certainly didn't disappoint. And yeah, I mean, like Manchester, we sold out Manchester, and that was our second time ever playing there. And Liverpool wasn't too far off either, and that was our first ever time playing there. So we had a really amazing experience with some of those cities up north. And yeah, we're very excited to go back in April.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing you. It'll be really good. The start of 2023, obviously 2023 was really busy year for you. You signed to Fierce Panda.
Yeah.
I've had Simon Williams on the podcast.
Oh, yeah, amazing.
So have you had much interaction with him? Because
Yes. Yeah, we've been very lucky to have a lot of interaction with Si. A lot of sort of like beers and a lot of gigs attended. And yeah, he's a brilliant man, like honestly, complete one of a kind, with some amazing stories to tell. And obviously amazing success with what he's done with Fierce Panda. So yeah, we're very privileged to be a part of that now.
so did he approach you? Had he heard your music and wanted to sign you?
No, it was actually very much us sort of nagging essentially
Right.
and getting ourselves heard. We actually are so there's a guy who works for Fierce Panda called Chris Wilson who's now our sort of like A&R slash manager. And he was doing our radio plugging for a little while. So we were sort of sending him our tracks to push out to the radio. And this was before we had any. Chris does this independently, so it's before we have had any relationship with the label. But we were well aware that he works there. And I think it must have been 2022, I guess, was it, Ty? We sort of like as a band put all of the money together that we had, and we went and recorded an EP, which a selection of songs at that point, I guess, which turned out to be the EP, which was Dream in Color. And we sort of packaged it all up, got it all ready, and then sent it to Chris and said, "Look, we would love to release this with you if you're into it." And they said yes, and you know that was sort of the start of our journey with them.
You can definitely see then, like around about that time, the kind of change in the sound and kind of it's a lot more mature, as you say. It's kind of you can tell the direction you're going in. Gigging wise, obviously, you've then went out, you've kind of travelled further up the country. You supported the Kosoviets in London as well. Kosoviets are a really good band. I'm a fan of them as well. So how was it kind of supporting them?
Yeah, it was really fun. It was the first time we played at Amira, which I feel like was quite a cool experience for us because it's like one of those venues that is, when you're headlining there, you're really doing something, I think. It's like 320 cap, I think, and it looks kind of like a theatre. It's a really cool vibe. And it was really because it was packed, wasn't it? Like the whole night, Jay. So like it was really nice to play to like a packed crowd and like a crowd that obviously like indie music. So that was really cool.
Festival wise as well, you played Isle of Wight Festival and Why Not Festival, which Isle of Wight Festival now seems to be one of the kind of the bigger festivals and one of the kind of best ones for breakout bands. So how did that go?
That was great. Again, yeah, as you say, like especially particularly from us, like growing up, literally the other side of the sea, to the Isle of Wight. The Isle of Wight was like from as long as I can remember, like ingrained in my head as like the biggest festival in the world, sort of thing. Like I know obviously there are bigger festivals, but as a kid that was just my perception of it, because it was just over from the water. And like I was lucky enough to go to a couple of Isle of Wight like days when I was younger, when I was sort of like 14 years old or so, and seeing incredible. I think I saw like Red Hot Chili Peppers there, Kings of Leon there, like 1975 there. Amazing people. So having the chance to go and play there ourselves as a band was amazing. Everything seems a lot smaller. I think that's probably just because because I'm a bit bigger now. But it was an incredible thing, and obviously an amazing festival with amazing heritage to be a part of.
And then towards the end of the year, you played London twice. One of them was supporting Ash.
Yeah.
So Ash, obviously they've done some stuff early on with Fierce Panda. So was there any connections there that got you that gig?
Yeah. I mean, that gig actually was actually cancelled in the end.
Or was that?
So we did, yeah. So we didn't get to play that, but we've been really lucky enough to hang out with Ash and go and see Ash. And we actually we played a gig at the start of the year, and Tim from Ash came down to watch us, and we spoke to him for quite a like significant amount of time at the end, and he's just like the loveliest dude, like most humble guy, and obviously done incredible things. And I mean, literally just in the last few months, they've got a top. I think it placed 14 in the album charts or something. Their album,
Mhm.
which just incredible for like a band to come back and do that. And they're off to South by Southwest as well, which we're attending next month. And we've been promised to have margaritas with Tim, so we're definitely going to take him up on that.
I hope it doesn't turn into. Can you mind for the first album, the hidden track on their first album, Sick Party? If it turns into that, a night on the tiles with Damon, it turns into using a garage or something, recording yourself being sick.
Yeah.
That could be the next release on your next EP.
Yeah, I think that'd be worth the rough night for a night with Ash. I think that would be be good time.
So is there any chance of a reschedule or another support with him?
I think yeah, we would love to do another sport with them 100%. And I think yeah, I suppose there is somewhat a chance of that happening, but nothing in the calendar now. But I definitely wouldn't rule it out.
The start of the year, you released Buttercup with obviously a different state of mind. It's going to be on that EP, which follows, as we said, on Friday. As you touched on there, South by Southwest coming up in March. So how excited are you to be travelling over there for that? I mean, that's been going a good 20 years now, and it's always been breaking out bands, so it's a big chance for you to.
Yeah, we are like incredibly excited. It's one of those bucket list things that we've sort of always spoken about. And I think, when you start following smaller bands and appreciating bands and then you see that they're going, it's a real stamp of approval, I think. And for us to be part of that group now is like incredible, like definitely something we always wanted to do. So we're really grateful for the opportunity to be able to go over.
And how long are you over there for? Do you get to catch up with everything else that's going on?
Yeah, we're over for about 9 days, I think. So we're heading out a bit early just to sort of like readjust. I've never been to America before or even done a long haul flight before, so I think the jet lag's gonna hit me a bit hard than the other boys maybe. But yeah, we're going out a bit early to soak up the scenery and yeah, we're definitely opportunities like this don't come about every day, so we're gonna really make the most of it, and as well as playing our gigs, make sure we're out and seeing as many other bands as possible and getting involved in all the tech festival stuff and trying to get as much free stuff as we can as well. I've heard a lot of free sort of things get handed out, so we'll be on the hunt for them.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. All that plus the margaritas with Ash.
Yeah, exactly.
And then once you come back for that, you get this tour coming up in April. Bristol, Manchester, Leeds, Glasgow. You're playing the Arctic. I seen Trampoline there
Oh
last
wow.
Oh, cool.
So I am really looking forward to that. Newcastle, Birmingham, London, Brighton, and then a massive show, a massive gig in September in Southampton. Which is Southampton what you would consider your hometown?
Yeah, absolutely.
So
Yeah.
So how does that go then in Southampton? What's it like? Because I've seen you played lots of times and you seem to be up in the venue every time. So how big is this one going to be in September?
It's big. Ty, you'll know the exact capacity, but
I think it's around 450, 500, somewhere around
Right.
that. But it's in an old church. It's like it's a new venue for the city actually, which is amazing. So it's going to be quite nice to be able to play, there and bring our music down to that new spot.
That sounds amazing. Any gig I've ever seen in like a church or in like that, they're always brilliant. Obviously in
yeah,
Glasgow we've got St Luke's, which
of
is
course.
round the corner for the Barrowlands, and St Luke's seems to be like one of the best up and coming venues in Glasgow. I've seen most of my gigs last year in St Luke's, and
Oh, wow.
it's like a really iconic venue. What else have you got coming up? Have you got festivals? Have you got anything like that you're able to announce this year?
Yeah, so we should be announcing festivals very soon, and we're hoping to have a pretty full on summer with it. But nothing's been announced yet, so people have to keep an eye on the socials. But yeah, hopefully we'll be up and down the country at quite a few.
That's brilliant. So, as we said, different state of mind coming out February the 23rd. What can we expect for that? Is what sort of sound are we getting? Is it more of the same, or is there any twists?
There's definitely a twist. We've got a track on there called February's Cold, which is probably like the most vulnerable musically on there. It's incredibly stripped back. Tyler and I like produced it ourselves. It's sort of like acoustic guitar and very like sort of lo-fi synthesizers. I guess if you had to compare it to anything we've already got out, it would be like veering towards that Milan sort of style thing, but a lot more contemporary and sort of like aligned with the sounds that we're doing. But it's definitely a bit of a curveball. And then the other track that's coming on the EP is a track called Best of Me, um, which again is probably like it's way more aligned with the rest of the EP, but it's definitely our probably like one of our most energetic like tracks today. I'd say. I don't know what you'd say, Ty, but
Yeah, I'd agree.
yeah, very like high intensity, sort of like leaning towards that like sort of like punk sort of post punk sort of lane, in very much our way of doing things, but yeah, it's definitely again like another sort of flavor of what we can do, I think.
Well, whenever you search for the band, that they're the words that seem to come up: energy and passion. So
Yeah.
That's nice.
That's great, yeah.
yeah, yeah, looking forward to that release on Friday. So the podcast called Time for Heroes. The last part of it, I asked my guests to pick, as I say, no very strict with it, but four heroes to come for dinner. Why they're your heroes, and what would you cook for them as well?
Oh, okay. Do you want to go first, Ty, or do you want to should
Uh,
we alternate? Should we pick one,
we, we can, yeah, we can alternate.
Okay, go on, you go first then.
Probably I'd say John Frusciante from Red Hot Chili Peppers. I think stylistically as a guitarist, like the way he's got a very flowing right hand. That's something I've tried to recreate, and I think the way that he sits in the groove is very unique. So I'd say him for that reason, basically.
Right, for his right hand.
For his right hand, just the way he flows across the strings, it's really something that's quite special. So yeah.
Cool. Okay, first one. Um, Probably, definitely, I think Joni Mitchell probably. Like when I was first like really getting into music, I was obsessed with those like proper like heritage like singer-songwriters like Bob Dylan, Joni Mitchell, Nick Cave, um, and particularly like that Blue album. Like I remember like my parents are massive music fans. Like they're not musicians themselves, but they're huge music fans and like every time I got in the car, there'd be like a different CD on, and like a massive array of things. Like I'd listen to like The Prodigy in there with them, or like Cat Stevens, or
Hmm.
Nirvana. But I always remember like Joni Mitchell, like that Blue album being on. Um, and like I mean, I know like it's probably the obvious one to go to, but like California, that track is just insane, and I'd love to be able to like yeah sit down with her and just chat songwriting and lyrics and all of that sort of thing.
Has something happened with Joni Mitchell recently? Just because, obviously, I've done 70 episodes of this podcast, never been picked
Oh really?
up until the last. This is like 3 episodes, I think, in a row that Joni
Oh
Mitchell's
wow!
been picked.
Oh wow!
So like last night, the lassie for Bug Eye, Angela for Bug Eye, she picked Joni Mitchell, and she basically said the exact same thing as you there.
Wow! Amazing.
No.
I've no idea. I don't think anything's happened recently, but maybe she's just in our subconscious somewhere. Like maybe something has happened and she's just in our subconscious. But yeah, that's I mean, that's amazing that she's been like brought up and picked, because yeah, she's incredible, so I'm glad.
Yeah, that's a brilliant pick. And again, Tyler.
Roll back to you, Ty.
Yeah, I'd probably go for someone who's another groove aficionado, and probably go for Anderson .Paak. Like
Yeah,
when we were in that lockdown period where we were writing and writing and writing, we were obviously we couldn't record drum kits, so like we were using a lot of like samples, and like those hip hop samples and stuff was something that I think really pushed us on in terms of like the sound we wanted to create. And like you can hear those samples and stuff like the sound and like the beats in Dream in Color as well. And you can definitely hear them in Buttercup. So definitely I'd love to have Anderson .Paak just to talk grooves and rhythms, because that guy, not well, he's an incredible singer, rapper, lyricist, everything, but with amongst all that, he's a brilliant drummer as well. So I'd love to chat drums and grooves.
Yeah, that'd be amazing. I'm pretty sure I've got my pal's a drummer in a band, the La Fontaines, and I'm pretty sure they went to America. I don't know if it was South by Southwest they went to a few years back, and I think they supported Anderson .Paak or something because they
Amazing.
referenced it. They've got a podcast and they reference it and they make it that he's their best pal.
Brilliant.
that's
Wow.
incredible.
Yeah.
So,
Cool. All right, back to me. This is again, like, this is more of a recent, like a kind of obsession of mine. But I'm actually mentioned just a second ago, but Nick Cave. I listened to a podcast like literally 2 weeks ago. It was Nick Cave on the Louis Theroux podcast, and I kind of always been aware of Nick Cave, but I don't think I'd ever like delved into his work that much. And he's like a really fascinating guy. Like he's had so much like grief in his life. He's lost like two sons, and he's got this thing. I don't know if you've ever heard of it, but it's called like the Red Hand Files. And it's essentially like people write into him just with like questions on life, and he publishes them like in sort of like a blog sort of style.
That's interesting.
And he like shares like, it's really like deep and like really significant stuff. And people like with severe grief and worry and stress like go to him with these questions, and he just tries to answer them the best that he can. And I think like that's such an interesting way of, I don't even think he's doing it to like engage a fan base or a community. I think he's just doing it because he wants to. But I think that's such an interesting way to sort of like grow that sort of like sense of community around your project. And on top of that, obviously like such a significant songwriter. But I think, yeah, I think I'll just pick him in terms of like being able to sit down and chat to him as like an interesting bloke, basically.
yeah, it sounds an interesting conversation. It must help him in some way to kind of to have those conversations and those interactions with the fans. What about cooking then? What would you be cooking for these people?
Oh,
Just to see how good you are in the kitchen.
yeah. we actually quite rate ourselves in the kitchen, so
We do, yeah.
we do kind of back ourselves. But have you got one, Ty? So I could take a second to think about.
Oh, I think to be fair, I had Mexican night last night, so I'd maybe do some tacos or something. I think that's quite a you can put anything in a taco. You can put like meat in there, you can put vegetables, you can do everything. So I think I'd go with tacos for that could be a starter or a main, so I'm not.
Yeah. It's pretty no fuss as well. Like I think you'd struggle to find someone that doesn't like a taco.
Yeah, I reckon.
I reckon John Frusciante likes a taco.
Yeah, probably, yeah.
I'd probably pick. I mean, if we're saying like Ty's is like the starter, I'd probably do like. I know it's like completely changing up the cuisine, so I don't know, but I'd probably pick like a nice pasta dish. I think like my favorite cuisine is Italian. Like I love amazing pasta and pizza, of course, and nice like bread and oils and that sort of thing. So I think I'd do a nice pasta probably go for a carbonara just because it's classic,
Yeah.
and I think a good carbonara again, maybe probably not many people can argue with.
And a couple of margaritas as well.
Yes.
Oh God, yes.
Particularly if Tim from Ash is around.
And how do you think you are going to do eating wise when you are away in America? How do you think that will go?
We're
Trying
quite
to avoid fast food.
Yeah. I was gonna say we're quite famously bad at eating whilst we're on tour. We set out with amazing intentions of booking Airbnbs that have kitchens so that we can make salads and and that sort of thing. But then we just sort of end up going to McDonald's 3 times a day. So that's something that we're going to try and like rectify, I guess, like going to America and this next tour, because I think eventually it'll catch up on us.
Brilliant. Well, all the best with the up and coming EP. Really looking forward to hearing the new tracks on that. Hope everything goes brilliant for you in America, and hopefully see you in Glasgow in the tour. But I thank you very much for coming on today. It's been an absolute pleasure. I'll post all your links on my show notes as well for everybody to get in touch with you.
Yeah,
Awesome.
Thank you very much, Martin. It's been great, and thanks for really appreciate coming on and yourself doing your due diligence as well. Like, it's been great. Been lovely to chat. So thank you, and hopefully we'll see you in April.
Yeah, and it's been brilliant news coming on this time in the morning as well. Thank you for it. I hope you all enjoyed this episode of Time for Heroes podcast. If you would like to get in touch, the best way is on the Facebook page, Time for Heroes podcast, or on Instagram at Time for Heroes podcast, or Twitter at Time for Heroes P1, or drop me an email at timeforheroespod@gmail.com. You'll find Time for Heroes on all podcast platforms, including Spotify, Apple, Google, and Amazon. Please leave a review where you can, share with others, and more importantly, enjoy.